My wife and I are 38 years old. We have been happily married for 8 years and are blessed with 2 wonderful boys, aged 8 and 11 years old. Our home is conveniently located near an outdoor park with a fantastic children's play area, and our kids absolutely love spending time there. Whenever I take them, no matter how tired I am after work, I make it a point to take them to the park regularly. I find a comfortable spot at the picnic bench while they gleefully play together, and I cherish every moment. My wife wholeheartedly supports the routine, knowing that the park allows them to run around and burn off excess energy. After their playful adventures, we head back home, and both our boys happily take a refreshing bath before going straight to bed. It's a lovely and fulfilling way to end our day, bringing us all closer together as a family. On this particular day, much like every other day, I came back home from work early, and my brother was visiting because there was a hockey game we had to watch. He came directly from work. My kids were running around, hoping to get ready for me to take them to the park. However, I was going to finish watching the game before taking them to the park. My brother and I watched the game while my wife made dinner for the family. Normally, we eat dinner after the outdoor park visit, but since we were going late that day, my wife decided to serve dinner earlier. My brother often comes to watch the game with me because we root for the same team. He lives about 30 minutes away from me and visits my home often. As soon as the game ended, my kids were ready for me to take them to the park, and we were in a hurry because it was getting dark. The park was only 10 minutes away from my house, so we would normally stay there for 2 hours. However, that day, I told my wife that we would be back in an hour because it was already getting dark. On our way to the park, my kids started running, and I was about to tell them to stop before my youngest kid fell and bruised his knee. I decided to head back home to dress the wound so it wouldn't get infected. It was a minor scratch, but it was bleeding. We were just about 5 minutes from home, and we had left less than 10 minutes ago, so I knew my wife would ask us why we were back so soon. When I approached my house, I was expecting my brother's car to be gone since there was no longer any reason for him to be at my house, as the game was over, and we had finished eating dinner. When I approached the entrance door, it was not locked, which was surprising because my wife normally locked the door as soon as we left. My brother's car was still on the driveway, which I really didn't give a second thought. Sometimes he falls asleep on the couch after eating. As soon as I opened the door, I heard sounds that sounded like my wife having an argument. I rushed to the bedroom and found my brother and my wife in a compromising situation. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They saw me as soon as I caught them, and it only lasted a few seconds, but it felt like eternity to me. Flashes of memories of how my brother had been visiting my house all along, and I never had the slightest clue that he was having an affair with my wife until now. My whole world came crashing down. I have loved this woman my entire life. I don't even know anyone else that I care for that much besides my parents. My brother just ran into the bathroom, and my wife just stayed in the bed, staring at me. I had no words for her. I now know that I was in shock, and I reacted differently than any normal person would. It was like reality hadn't set in for me. As I left to find the first aid kit to tend to my kid's minor injury, after 30 minutes, I left for the park, even though it was already dark by then. My wife gave me a call after I left, and she said she was sorry and that she was drunk and didn't know my brother was going to force her. I was just severely heartbroken. I loved this woman so much, but things like this make me think the world is just a horrible place. As soon as I arrived at the park, I sat on the picnic bench, and my kids went away to play. That was when it started to set in. I started to cry. I called my mom and told her what I just witnessed. She was livid at my brother. The betrayal was overwhelming, and I don't wish this on my enemy. After I got off the phone with my mom, I huddled my kids together, and we went home. When I arrived home, my brother's car was already gone. My wife was nervously sitting on the sofa, waiting for me. I didn't acknowledge her presence as I wanted to talk my kids to bed to shield them away from the ensuing confrontation. After I took my kids to bed, I calmly sat on the couch, perpendicular to my wife, and I asked her how long the affair had been going on with my brother. She told me that it was just that one time, that my brother forced himself on her. I wasn't buying her story. My brother is not the aggressive type. I told her to tell me the truth, but she stuck with it even. Even when I threatened her with a divorce, she kept saying that he forced himself on her as she was trying to push him away. At that moment, we were at an impasse. I didn't want to make any rash decisions. My dad was calling me now, as I'm sure my mom must have told him, but I wasn't ready to pick up the phone. I just felt weak and exhausted. A few hours earlier, I was sharing with my brother in front of the television while my wife was cooking in the kitchen. I thought that I had made it. Now I know it was all a lie, and I didn't know how long it has been going on. The following day, all hell broke loose. It was like all the anger I had held back burst open. I called my brother's wife and told her what I just caught him doing. When I got my brother on the phone, he was telling me that he was drunk, even though we had 0 drinks that evening. He wasn't drunk when I left the house about 10 minutes before catching him on top of my wife. I knew my wife was lying about my brother forcing himself on her, so I didn't bother confronting him with that. Well, I called off work, and it was a while until I was ready to go back. A few of you asked me why I didn't hit my brother's face in. It was mainly because I was in shock and didn't even know how to react. Moreover, if I had gotten arrested, then social services would have gotten involved in the upcoming divorce, and that would be used against me. I got all bank accounts in order. I removed my wife from the kids' trust fund and my own account straight away in case she tried to empty them. She has her own account for her money she earns from work. Well, she did indeed try to empty all of them 2 days after I kicked her out. FYI, I had already paid the bills for the house and cars days before this happened. I have been to the doctors to check for STIs literally days after I posted and have been given all clear. I followed that up with a long meeting with a team of divorce lawyers to find out what is to happen next. The lawyers recommended that I get a DNA test on my kids as well, which was a tough one for me. Being a computer programmer, I have remote access to my home computer and my wife's laptop as well. I haven't tried snooping before, but I did this time, and I found my dear wife had left herself locked into Facebook, and I stumbled upon messages of her chatting with other men, photos, texting, paid bills for hotels, and meet-up arrangements, etc. Turns out that she may have had an affair with more than just my brother and has been doing so for 7 out of our 8-year marriage, as she was chatting with men on Facebook throughout those times. I never had a reason to snoop even though I could, because I trusted her entirely. All this was given to the lawyers as there is no going back now. I have to wait for a few months to start the process as there is currently a backlog due to the pandemic. Also, our trust in her has been completely destroyed, and no amount of couples counseling will save this marriage. I returned home 3 days later, packed her bags, and kicked her out. The kids are with me, and after a difficult conversation with my kids, they are now fully aware that mommy is not coming back, but they can still see her. While I am angry with her, I won't be the parent that holds the kids to ransom. My in-laws and family are fully aware of what their kid and sister have done, and her relationship with her family is now strained. As soon as I started snooping at her Facebook, I didn't stop there. I started snooping at her text conversations after I kicked her out, and it turned out to be a good thing I did. I had text messages from her, basically saying that she's going to ruin me in court and making false accusations like I was controlling and abusive, etc. The lawyers have all the copies. I have deleted Facebook due to her small circle of friends sending VAR messages for ruining her life. After taking the opportunity test, it came out that my oldest kid isn't mine. I am even more devastated than before. I love my kid so much, and I can't put into words the grief I am in. The DNA test also came back with 0% relationship, so I'm not sure my brother is the father. Most likely, there are other men involved. I can't believe that I never suspected her cheating. I feel so stupid and clueless. I showed my wayward wife the DNA results, and it appeared that she had known all along. I exposed the results to her parents as well, so I am sure that they know she's the bad guy here and she had been playing nice to me. I filed for divorce, and my soon-to-be ex-wife signed the papers. I have a couple of court dates. This has been a rough time for me, and I am worried I will not get custody of my children, whom I deeply love. I really wish that I had never taken the opportunity test and found out about my oldest kid, but that's nothing to me right now. I still love both my children, and I am working towards a better future. My brother and his wife are currently getting a divorce as well. Moreover, I don't know if the DNA results would change anything because my brother just did a DNA test on my kid, and he's not the father either. So, there must be a third or fourth person. Who knows? I will raise him, and I love him. Nothing has changed. It's not his fault, and I continue to be his dad. Thank you for making it to the end of this story. Please don't forget to thumbs up and like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, let's get some reaction in the comments section, and thank you. Have a wonderful day.